Welcome, gang. Thank you so much for joining. I'm going to go forward and just say a few words, and then we'll get on with the plan and the program here. I can get my mouse to work. Well, for those who don't know me, I'm Karen Simpson. I'm the co-executive director of the Southeastern National Tuberculosis Center. And again, good morning. Thank you for joining us, and sit back. Hopefully you've got a cup of coffee and your lunch, and be prepared for an uplifting an hour here. Just to let you know, for World TB Day, SNTC has an activity that you can participate in. If you print out our screen or our handout there, TB ends here, add your location and then send it to us along with a picture of you. We'll be able to post it to social media and show just where TB ends all over our region, all over the US, and all over the world. So please join us for that. We'd love to have your pictures. Send them to us. Now for a little bit of housekeeping. On your Zoom toolbar, it may not look exactly like this one, but down at the bottom, generally, if you hover down to the bottom, you'll see your toolbar and you'll see functions across the bottom that will help you participate in this event. We'd love that you would add your comments into chat, and any questions, feel free to plug them in there. We are monitoring chat. And if you'd like to speak during the webinar, please select the reactions icon. It may look like this. There's the chat. It may look like reactions with a smiley face, or it might be a heart shape. If you select that and then the raise your hand icon, we'll see your hand and then we'll call on you. So you'll be able to unmute your mic by clicking on the microphone. So hopefully you've been on our webinars before and you're familiar with these toolbars. It's not difficult, but if you have any concerns about it, just plug it into chat and we'll help you out. So it's my pleasure to bring a World TB Day webinar to you guys with Dr. Ervin from South Carolina and our moderator, Dave Ashkin. But first, before we turn it over to our speakers, I want to provide a little bit of the provisional US TB data that CDC released last week. We're looking at the 2024 numbers. So this provisional results report gave us 10,347 cases with a 3.0 incidence rate per 100,000. After nearly 3 decades of consistent decline in TB in the US and a large decline in 2020, the TB case count and rate began increasing again in 2021. I know it's no surprise to all of you on the call here. Here on this map, you'll see 4 states that continued to report more than 50% of all the US TB cases. And in fact, 34 states reported increases in their case counts and rates in 2024. 8 of those states were within our Southeast region. And although the TB case count and rate increased for the 4th year in a row, the percentage of increase in both count and rate from 2023 to 2024 were less pronounced than the increase we saw from 2022 to 2023. So that's actually a little bit of good news here. So let's look at the top 10 states for reported cases. If you'll notice, 4 of those are within our Southeast region. Now let's look at a closer look at the Southeast region here. If we zoom in just a little bit, you'll see that our case ranges from a low of 49 in Mississippi, way to go, to a high of 681 in Florida. And then if we look at incidence rates, here's the call outs of the states and areas that have the highest incidence. And likewise, if we try to pull out the incidence rates just for the Southeast, we'll zoom in a little bit here. And we'll see that in our region, we have a low incidence rate of 1.5 in South Carolina, thanks Rick Ervin, to 3.9 in Arkansas. Now, just in 2024, 4 new states had rates that were above the national rate of 3.0. And of note, incidence rates are also increasing among Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islanders since 2021, and also in children age 0 to 4. So again, focusing on our Southeast region here, this is a list of the states within our Southeast region, comparing the case numbers 2023 to 2024 and the percent change. There were 2 states that had actually a decrease, one of those being Alabama and another South Carolina. So it's a good thing we've asked Rick Ervin from South Carolina to speak today. They must be doing something really, really special there in South Carolina. So I mentioned that, one of the groups that's seeing more cases and a higher rate being the young ones. From this chart, it may actually seem that the most compelling data is in the age group of 25 to 44. There's 3,476 cases within that region. However, if you look at a closer look at the young ones, 0 to 4, they had 263 cases last year in that group. And if you overlay the percent increase, that's actually a 16% increase in cases for that young age group from 2023 to 2024, and a TB rate change of 17% also. So this increase in young children suggests recent transmission in our very vulnerable group. And perhaps these cases could have been caught earlier if we knew they even existed, right? So finally here, among the reported cases, 76% were in non-US born persons with a case rate of 15.5, which is much higher than the US born case rate of 0.8 per 100,000 persons. So definitely disproportionate numbers for the non-US born. So that's my quick snapshot of the surveillance, and thanks to CDC for getting us these numbers right before World TB Day, so we can give a quick snapshot of that to add some context to our conversation today. And before I turn it over, I want to say a few words of congratulations to the 2025 awardees for the TB Elimination Champion that CDC hosts. Several of these were from our Southeast region, and I'd really like to give them props right now. First off, we've got Yolanda Jacobs. Hey, she's from South Carolina, and she's the Surveillance Data Coordinator. We have a Status Adjuster Project, which was a multi-site partnership funded by CDC that was focused on civil surgeons and getting status adjusters to accept LTBI therapy from the civil surgeons practice. And Florida and UF both participated in that, including SNTC. Next, we have Jennifer Ryman, our buddy from Savannah, Georgia, who is what she told me this morning, that she's so busy out in the field, she didn't think she was going to be able to join, but I hope she's celebrating World TB Day. And the Florida Public Health Lab, a terrific resource for Florida and the rest of the US. They're well deserving of this award. They're actually having a CLIA assessment today. So I don't know if you're on, but shout out to you guys there in Jacksonville at the Florida lab. We do appreciate you guys. And then last, I'd like to recognize the team at the Chest Clinic in Chatham County, Savannah, Georgia. Way to go, folks. You all do a great job. We support your nominations for TB Champion and all those others who are out there in the field who do such great work. It's not just those that got nominated this year. Many, many more of you are absolutely fabulous. So now for the main event, let me introduce two of my favorite TB docs. First off, we have our moderator, Dr. Dave Ashkin. Dave's the medical director for the TB control section for the Bureau of Communicable Disease in the Florida Department of Health. And he's the medical director for SNTC. So he is our TB elimination champion every single day, and we very much appreciate him. So Dave, I'm going to turn it over to you now.
Karen, thank you. And I have to say, it's an honor as always to be with my friends, all of you. If there's, if we talk about what was World TB all about, as we'll talk about, part of it is sharing what we do and making sure that people understand it because its importance is so important. And as you know, today commemorates 143 years since Robert Koch made his announcement concerning the etiology of TB. And as we know, he was meticulous in his techniques to clearly lay out a very, very strong argument for TB being the cause of tuberculosis. And once and for all, I mean, making the very strong argument that TB is caused by an organism, something that was debatable. There was the question of science at the time. He identified it. He gave it a face. He gave it a name. And once he did that, as we know, he also named it as the enemy number one, as you can see in his paper and his announcement that day. And as with any enemy, in order to defeat it, you have to go into battle. And in order to go into battle, you need a plan, you need a strategy, and most importantly, you need an army. Those armies are usually made of people who've suffered, people who've been victims. They're made up of communities who come together to try to once and for all help defeat, and it comes to allies. And we all come with a very, very central mission. Next slide, please. And the mission's a fight. And, as you remember, the National Tuberculosis Association took up the double-bar cross of Lorraine, a symbol always of going into battle. And this was our battle at that time. And as you know, despite 143 years of this specific fight against TB, TB is still a formidable foe. It's still killing more people today than any other infectious agent, and has done that consistently during that whole 140 years, except for 1 year in between, as we know, called COVID. And then, and again, I've done these, you guys have done this for a long time. There have been some times we actually thought that we may have gained a victory, maybe even gained a step on this foe. It sometimes always has a way, I think you'd agree, to find its way back. And we've had remarkable, remarkable advancements. I mean, thanks to this war, this fight, we've had recently, I think, and, some of the most tremendous advancements, advancements in diagnostics, therapeutics, and even vaccines. But we've also had some major setbacks too, right? COVID was a major setback. And with that, since then, we've seen 4 years. And obviously, I think we're facing a very major area, a very major time right now with a diminishing view of public health, a questioning of public health. Is it still worthwhile? Is it still worth the fight? And I think this may be the scariest tactic that tuberculosis may be throwing against us. And I have to say, me and you both know it's not the organism that's doing this. As years ago, Lee Reichman, one of our leaders, the people we admire, told us that sometimes we've seen the enemy, and the enemy is us, in the U-shaped curve of concern or our own, questioning. And it's this battle is causing our patients to become disheartened and our army to be forced to desert. And this is leading to people who are sticking around, deciding every day to continue this battle, to ask if it's worth it. And our patients are concerned, will there still be a community to help us? And that's why today we'd like to focus on why we believe it's important to remember why all of you on this call have dedicated your life, your careers, one of the most important things to TB. And I want to tell you that it's noble, it's fulfilling, and it is worthwhile. And, I've been called a TB nerd. My family doesn't want to talk to me usually because everything always comes back to tuberculosis, right? But I've been lucky to fight this battle side by side with many of the quote unquote leaders that we all have learned from, and many of you and my brothers, my sisters, all of you who've been valiant warriors in this fight, being led by our patients as our inspiration. We want to continue this fight, and one of my concerns is that every fight, every battle needs new blood. And we need to be continuing to understand why we need to continue to battle why you need to continue not becoming disheartened. Don't let the things around us take us down. And most importantly, continue to encourage our future and remind people all the time that TB and public health is a battle that's worthwhile. And it's not going to be by words, it's going to be by our actions and our commitment and our persistence. And that is why we asked Rick Ervin to come join us today. I don't know, many of you guys know Rick. You know, we talked about our TB champions. I think we all agree. There's so many TB champions every day we work with, we live with, we speak to. They're so numerous. Every community has it. Every health department has it. Every block has it. And the beautiful part is that Rick is one of those. Rick has been a TB champion. Rick has been a doctor, a leader, and most importantly, Rick has been a colleague and Rick has been a friend. And I have the opportunity every month to speak with Rick, and I've seen him in action, and I know the kind of person he is. And I know that if there's ever been somebody who dedicated their life and through his actions have made differences, it's Rick. So with that, I'd really like to introduce, they tell me his name is Frank. I don't know any Frank, but I know Rick. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to introduce Rick Ervin, and Rick is going to talk today again about his career in TB. So Rick, thank you for doing this. I know it's not easy, Rick. I know this is not easy. Thank you.
Okay, Dave, thank you very much. Given the time we're living in, I thought a few comments about some social issues would be reasonable. Serendipity is the occurrence of a fortunate and unexpected event, discovered or situation that happens by chance. It's good luck. And I've had that opportunity numerous times. Next slide. More recently, I listened to a podcast on taking advantage of inflection points. And I honestly believe that we in public health are at such an inflection point. Next slide. We're also part and parcel of our times. That certainly happened to me in the fall of '66. I was draft number 23 out of 365. The choice to me was clear: go to medical school. Next slide. A 30-second conversation with an upperclassman recommended that I take 2 microbiology classes. That changed my life forever, because in the laboratory in the micro class, next slide, across the lab bench was a nursing student. I love all my nurses, but I love this one the best, obviously. She's been my rock for all these years, and we're celebrating 57 this year. Next slide. Another chance encounter. The first day of medical school, representatives of the Army and Navy gave presentations. So the next day, I enlisted in the Air Force. It actually turned out to be good for the Air Force and me, as later times found out. Next slide. In the late 60s and 70s, medical schools were expanding. Other hospitals were becoming affiliated, offering clinical experiences, as the home hospital simply could not accommodate the number of students. I had no interest in any of my third-year specialties, and I was assigned to Monmouth Medical Center in Long Branch, New Jersey for an internal medicine rotation at the beginning of my senior year. Also, changes in our rotations were required, and I begged the director of microbiology to take me for a lab experience. Just by chance, another fantastic thing in my career. Next slide. The first day, we had a lunchtime clinical pathological conference given by Dr. James Kirby, 40-year-old horse trainer, alcoholic, cavitary pneumonia, fatal stroke. And as the internal medicine residency director, he did the differential diagnosis. In the back of the room, I followed that carefully. And when he came up with a clinical diagnosis of pulmonary nocardiosis with metastasis, abscess to the brain, I thought I was amazed. And then the pathologist got up and confirmed the diagnosis. Honestly, my jaw almost dropped at the table. And within 3 or 4 hours, I knew what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I wanted to be like him. I wanted to be able to do what he was able to do. And I wanted to be good to my colleagues, as well as any students that might come under my direction. Next slide. Brings up the concept of mentor. Usually we think of number 2, an experienced person in a company, college, or school who trains and counsels. But never forget, it's also number 1, an experienced and trusted advisor. Next slide. I finished my residency, went to UK for an ID fellowship as I wanted experience in TB and fungal diseases. Next slide. Then on to the Air Force in Washington, D.C. I was fortunate enough to get a complete deferment until I finished my education. Interestingly, during that time, in '76, H1N1 popped up at Fort Dix. I had been told the previous year that it was only a matter of when, not if, flu was coming back. And I ended up giving many presentations around DC as the only ID doctor in the Air Force at that time. And then a couple of months later, we learned of all these deaths occurring in a hotel in Philadelphia. And my pulmonary colleague and I said, here it is. But it turned out to be Legionnaire's disease and not another 1918 at the time. My father reminisced seeing caskets on the curbs and around the corners in the city of Philadelphia during that time. And Diane's Raynaud's disease turned very severe during the winter. So we had to go south. Next slide. We moved to Florence, South Carolina, the promise of a new regional medical center taking over from the 40-year-old facility here. I was able to be co-director of the micro lab for about 10 years. I was in clinical practice with a great pulmonologist, and I found the opportunity to do volunteer work with the health department. Next slide. Of course, like most medical centers, 50 years have passed. Our South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control is now called the South Carolina Department of Public Health. I still maintain my medical staff membership at McLeod. Next slide. A year or two ago, a woman in her 40s needed documentation of treatment for TB. We actually still had paper records. And lo and behold, I discovered that I saw her as a child that August. Brought back a lot of memories. Next slide. I have TB in the family as well. When my dad was growing up, he and my grandfather had a milk dairy business, and TB concerning milk was still in the public arena at that time. There's a picture of him in the 30s showing that our milk was tuberculin tested and was negative, of course. And now, ironically, pasteurization also kills avian flu when it's in the milk. Next slide. I got involved in genealogy as well, found tuberculosis in my family history, found that I am probably the survivor of centuries of TB in Europe. There's a death certificate of my father's cousin. Not only did she lose her life, her sister lost her life, and her father died of tuberculosis. My father's aunt was living with the extended family in 1910 as the sole survivor of tuberculosis in this family. And I've often wondered about how protected I basically am. Next slide. In '83, the TB SAN here in South Carolina closed. The state was divided into regions with designated medical centers and designated clinicians such as I to take care of inpatients. Initially, there was a lot of financial support for inpatient care and diagnostics, but that slowly dissipated. Next slide. Currently, we have 4 districts in South Carolina in the Department of Public Health, and our TB divisions are also separated in that manner. Next slide. We have myself as the consultant in TB in the PD region. In the Low Country, it's wonderful to work with Dr. Susan Dorman. In the Midlands, Dr. Alex Milgram. And up in the upstate, Dr. Melissa Overman. And I joked with Dave the other day that we got 3 ID people doing TB in South Carolina. Next slide. Shortly after arrival and getting started in public health, it was my privilege to meet Dr. Eric Brenner, who is still a friend, and I still talk with him intermittently. He was the CDC EIS TB health officer during the 70s and stayed on with the department after that. Next slide. And almost all of you will remember Carol Posick. She was the executive director of the NTCA, had helped start the award for the nurses, but previously she was the director of the TB program here in South Carolina for years. And it was my privilege to work with her during that time. Next slide. Eric and Carol began South Carolina TB education courses. We called it TB Today. It was supported by the South Carolina Lung Association. New nurses from around the state in TB control came. We also had invitations extended to TB folks from the hospitals, as well as others from around the Southeast. We're still having them, although it's been interrupted significantly because of COVID. Next slide. But the interesting parts of South Carolina are, one of them was, it all started with crickets in the early 80s. Florence County TB nurse Teresa Regan had a patient who she finally asked, what would it take for you to meet me here every time I need to give you medication? He said crickets, because he liked to go fishing all the time. And so Teresa started bringing him crickets. Next slide. And that, of course, blew into the whole entire concept for us of enablers and incentives. In concert with the American Lung Association, DHEC had developed the program and was able to provide the funding for these little things, which meant so much to our patients. Next slide. Basha, I know you're online. This is one of the enablers that I've always enjoyed. These children would not cooperate with her for treatment of latent infection until she started promising them to read a story to them after they all took their medications. And it worked. This one was funny because it says, go dog, go. And there's the poor dog in the corner there. Next slide. With the implementation of RIPE in the early 80s, after Teresa came back from the Denver TB program, we also started directly observed therapy in the early 80s. Our nurses went everywhere to meet patients. Here again is Rasha giving medications to a patient coming down off the ladder. Next slide. We initially called it SIT, for supervised intermittent therapy. But of course, it evolved into what's known as now DOT, and of course, now video at times. Next slide. Here again is Rasha, celebrating at the end of a course of treatment with the patient. He successfully completed, and again, a wonderful little enabler at the end. Next slide. The remarkable nurses I work with now, the fantastic nurses I worked with in the past. Rasha, I know you're online. Deborah, Ray, I know you're online. Thank you again for all the help and work you've done for our patients. These nurses in South Carolina essentially become TB nurse practitioners without prescription authority. They are all great, and it's been a privilege to work with them. Next slide. Eric went to the WHO for a few years in the early and mid 80s and asked me to take over at the state level for a while. This was a report I did for the South Carolina Lung Association in '86. South Carolina had the second highest case rate in the entire country. In my area of South Carolina, which we called the PD region because of its geographical PD River here, had the highest in the state. We were at 50 cases per 100,000. We had 50 cases a year in my county alone, and I can't remember how many patients I ended up taking care of each year. Next slide. But look what happened. Becky Wallace here is in the middle. She was the TB nurse in Marion County for her entire career. She took care of all the TB patients in that county. In '86, the CDC came to visit and visited Marion County and came back with a comment, "Your rate's not too bad for a third world country." But look what happened over her entire career. Every 2 years, this is the case rate, the case count, 30, 19, 11, et cetera, down, down, down. For the last 5 years, there have been 0 cases in that county. Statewide, we've seen 566 now drop to around 90 over the last 40 years because of all the hard work all these nurses have done. Next slide. Here's our South Carolina cases over the last 60 or so years, 40 or so years, 566 down to around 90. It has leveled off the last 8 or 9 years as our number of cases who are foreign born has also slowly increased. Next slide. Currently, we have our champions, as you've already heard. A couple of years ago, our program director, Amy Painter, was one of the TB elimination folks. And she is involved, of course, with NTCA, as well as directing our program. Next slide. I found out recently that poor Amy is responsible for, keep going, an absolutely amazing number of stakeholders that she has to interact with. When I first saw this, I said to myself, oh my goodness, and I recommended her for the job and suggested that she would be good at it. Next slide. Currently, we have 2 nurse consultants in our central office, Kendra Walker and Candace Solomon, doing all that front work, answering all those questions, being on call, et cetera, et cetera. And you've already heard that Yolanda Jacobs was a TB elimination person for this year. Next slide. And Amy, of course, is the program director. Here's Yolanda. She's just been the surveillance data coordinator here in South Carolina for at least the last 40 years. And I can't remember the TB program without her. So thanks again, Yolanda, for everything. Next slide. Amy recommended me for an elimination champion when I was working with her when I was covering for her region as well. It was at that time we had the availability of Gen Expert locally. Previously, Dave had helped me out a number of times from Florida with his Hain capabilities in the laboratory. We were used and was able to use the Nat Gen Expert for clinical situations in which the smear was negative but the patient certainly looked like he or she had tuberculosis. And many times that allowed for a rapid clinical decision, getting patients out of congregate settings and making sure they're in appropriate isolation. The first time this occurred, I remember, was in a dialysis center. Negative smears, positive NAT, and we were able to get that patient out quickly. So thanks for all the lab studies and lab results that our public health lab puts out every time, and thanking them today as well for all the help that they've given us. Next slide. And then the pinnacle of my career was in 2012 when NTCA awarded me the William Stead Clinician Award. I still am very proud of this. Next slide. And here I am giving this presentation for the South Carolina SNTC Center. I found this presentation I gave in Atlanta 13 years ago, as far as cooperating with them, helping us. Next slide. And they continue to help us too. But what is it about TB that draws exceptional people? And this is what I want to emphasize today. I personally believe this is a calling. A calling is not only for the clergy. I believe that all of you probably get up in the morning and you are called to do what you're doing. Caring people, giving service to others. We're fulfilling a sense of purpose for our own career. The values that we share with all the others in our field. The contributions each and every one of us makes to an evolving field. I've certainly seen a whole bunch of new things, and I'm glad to see new things continue to come. Each of us then has a sense of agency in our ability to do all this, a sense of ability to have control, which is important for this job. And each day is very different, as you know. You all make a difference every day. And if you don't love TB in 6 months, you probably should quit. Next slide. So again, thank you for all that you do. I want you to watch for possible personal as well as environmental inflection points. As I started off with, in public health, I think we're at one of those inflection points generally, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens. As evidenced by my own career, serendipity can open new doors. Before just passing them by, ask yourself, is this something that I should enter? Is this something new for my career or my personal life? Thank again all your personal mentors. I was able to keep friendship with Dr. Kirby until his passing away. A month ago, I spoke again with my high school biology teacher. And remember that mentors is also collegial colleagues that help you out at times. And when I look back, it seems like about every 4 years during my formative years, there was somebody that was a little bit special that helped me along and again. And you're never too old to need a mentor or to be a mentee. So Dave, thank you so much for all the information, help, and friendship that you've given me the last 20 years since the SNTC started. When possible, be a mentor to another if the opportunity arises. It's so important in life as well as what we do every day for this to happen. Thank each other because no one else is going to. I was vice president at our regional medical center for a number of years, finally giving that up. And quite a number of years later, I had lunch with a member of our medical staff who had finished 6 years of leadership in the medical staff. And I sat down, had lunch with him, and I said, you know, I did all this years and years ago, and I personally want to thank you for doing all that. He looked at me as if I had a third eye, and he said, no one had thanked me up until that time. And appreciate your family daily. Also, your health. There's nothing more important than your health. Take it from me. It's nothing more important than your health. If you need to do things to improve your health, do it, because I can guarantee some things that are not predictable might happen to you. Next slide. This is a difficult time in public health. Eric sent me this copy of a report concerning our global approach to TB, funding being cut. I don't know what's going to happen, but personally, I am very disturbed because it's now become personal. Not in my job, but my personal life. Diane and I were able to keep free from COVID. To this day, I have clear in my mind figure 3 of the COVID vaccine article in the New England in 2020 December. 90% the efficacy. I got my vaccine the first day it was available. Diane got it the first week it was available. My grandchildren were number 2 and 3 on the list. I'm up to date with my vaccine. I am extremely concerned about vaccines in this country, and that'll be the only personal thing I'll say today. Next slide. This book was just published within the last 2 weeks, or it became available, Airborne. I think you can know what that's about. It's fascinating. It's the history of it, what happened during COVID. It's fascinating, but that's for another day. Thank you so much.
Rick, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I have to say that, you know, I think among us, and I know we're speaking to the choir, but sometimes we need to support each other. You know, we need to strengthen our bonds. We need to remind ourselves what we do and how much we love it. I mean, everybody around us should know that we love it. And most importantly, we should always be saying thank you to those who we really, really, really rely on, as well as I think those we need to encourage the next generation, because right now there's not a lot of encouragement going around. And that's why I'd like to start by saying this World TB Day is about you all. You all. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's humbling to have the opportunity to work with you. I also want to put out something that may not be popular, but I think we all agree. We want to thank our colleagues right now who have always supported us, who are being placed into very, very difficult situations. We need to know, they need to know, we're in this together. We support you. CDC, thank you. Thank you very, very much. We appreciate, as always, your support and your dedication, your mentorship, and everything you meant, what the careers you put forward. So thank you. I'd like to start, if it's okay. I'm going to call out some people. So you guys know you can unmute yourself, right? So just unmute yourself and scream, you know, because this is the SNTC. There's no order. We're known to be rowdy, and we're not going to change that today, right? But Eric, are you on? Eric Brenner, can I ask you, as a former CDC colleague, a former South Carolinian, and a former WHO, are you there? Can you go ahead and unmute yourself? And I want you to say hello. And do you have anything you want to say to Rick by any chance?
I think he's
Eric's trying to figure out whether or not to speak.
Me too. No, yeah, we're all trying to figure out how to unmute. Eric,
yes, David, thank you so much. And Rick, what a special presentation where you emphasize so rightly that we're not concerned only with the Mycobacterium tuberculosis, but we're also concerned about loving, admiring, and working with our friends and colleagues so much. And I remember for a while when I was working in Geneva, Switzerland, part-time at the World Health Organization there, and part-time with the public health program there. I would be in touch with Rick from from Switzerland, and we discussed different things. Do you remember some of those days, Rick? That was 25 or 30 years ago. So as time has passed. But Dave and Rick, thanks so much for sharing all this with us.
So Eric, I got to tell you, first of all, thank you. Thank you for being a mentor to us. I mean, I've had the opportunity to work with you at times. I've read about, your stuff. I really appreciate it. I'm going to ask you one word because, it's all about that elevator talk, right? Was it worth it? Was TB something that was worth dedicating your career? Some of us only get one career. Hopefully we get many, but was it worth dedicating your career to?
The one word answer is yes. The two word answer is, of course. And the four word answer is thank you for asking, because it reminds us that our work with TB has been something exceptional that we carry with us throughout our years. Thank you, David.
It's a blessing. Thank you, Eric. Thank you very, very much. Hey, while we're talking about blessings and we're talking about acknowledging people, Yolanda Jacobs, you are a TB champion. Would you, for 1 second, unmute yourself and say hello to all of us? And I want you all to unmute yourself at once. And when she comes on, and hopefully she does, we could all clap for her. And then after that, we're going to clap for all the champions, which are you. But Yolanda, you on?
Oops,
And everybody, bear with the technical stuff. Yolanda, is that you?
come on, Yogi.
Yolanda.
I bet. Thank you for everything.
I what do you call it? I want to thank all of our TB champions, obviously, and it's about you guys. It really, really is. And I'd like to turn it for a second, and I'd like to talk. I want to see. I'm sorry. Okay.
I'm just seeing a bunch of old colleagues popping up.
I
here.
was just about to say, Betty, how's it going? Hello. Thank you. So, Betty, yes or no? Was it worth it? I think that should be our shirt. It's
You
worth
talking
it,
to me?
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
There's Shay. Hi, Shay.
Hello,
Hey, Rick.
everyone.
Hey,
Thanks
Shay.
for joining us. Thanks for
Hey,
everything.
Rasha.
Hi.
Was it worth it, guys?
Yes.
Mhm. And the thing
Right.
is that all of us old TBers stay together. Like Betty and I were just talking this morning, and I've been working with Becky Wallace. We're going to have a lunch date soon, so
Yes, sure.
we never go away.
Hey, what about your patients? I don't know about you. Some of the best opportunities, some of the things that it's great is that we forget this is our community. These are the patients are our community. They're our friends, our neighbors, our loved ones. It's still cool to me. I'll be in the supermarket. I'm walking down and somebody starts screaming at me, Dr. Ashkin, Dr. Ashkin. The first thing I'm always doing is running because I'm always afraid. But no, after that, it's one of my patients or colleagues. It is amazing because, how many other diseases do you get to change someone's life?
Sure.
You change their life. It's an inflection point. They were near death. They knew it. And we were able, with their help, and of course, we're nothing without the higher powers, right? And we are nothing without our patients, and it is an amazing blessing we all get. And I think we need to be shouting that right now. When you're in a fight, you need to close ranks. We all need to get closer. This is no time right now for any of us to be pointing fingers. Our job, no matter what's happening, is to wake up every morning and make sure pills get in the bellies of our patients, because that's what we do. We need to keep up the fight. So I thank you all from South Carolina. Thank you very, very much. Everybody but Shay, I thank. So
Hey.
thank you, guys. Rosha, good seeing you. Hey,
Yes.
I want to, for 1 second, I want to turn to a nurse that means a lot to me, if it's okay, over the years. Ellen and I go back. I got to be honest with you. When I first met Ellen, I didn't know what a jail was, and I know you guys are saying, sure you didn't. But no, I really didn't know what a jail from a prison was. I had no clue. And I had the most amazing opportunity to be mentored and taught by who I believe one of the great, great nurses I've ever met. And what I love about her, when people talk about that they've been, they've been kind of closed up or had to deal with a tough population. Ellen, you always surprise me. So Ellen, thanks for joining today. And I only have one question for you. Was it worth it?
Oh, absolutely. And I have to say, Dave, you've been a mentor to me for over 30 years. At least
You had to say that. You had to say that. You couldn't say just over like 5 years. You had to say 30, right?
Well, at least it was only 30. But I remember one of the things that you said to me was, there's lies, damn lies, and then there's statistics. And I never forgot that, because one of the things I wanted to prove was in corrections, there's more cases than they're finding. And I have proved that over the years, and I have had help from every single person, including South Carolina. And you guys, Shay, Betty, Rasha, Deborah, all you guys have just been amazing to me and helped me along the way, because when I was in corrections, I thought I knew everything about TB, and I knew nothing. Let me just say that. And I am so happy to know that I still have this family here. And it is just incredible. SNTC has been my champion as well. So thank you to all of you. And I love every one of you. And Dr. Ervin, nice to hear from you again. You and I have had a few conversations, and I am so glad that you're still hanging on and still mentoring. Thank you.
Thank you,
Guys, and thanks, Dave.
Love you, Ellen.
Really quickly, I just wanted to put some stuff from chat into the live session in case people aren't looking in chat. I wanted to share that Shay shared with us that Dr. Ervin donates scholarship money to the South Carolina TB Association for TB nurse education. Thank you so much for doing that. We love to see that Dr. Ervin, obviously, and all of our TB champs are always doing a really good job of making sure the next generation is set and ready to go. I also wanted to kind of put a note for Luz. She shared that she's a TB survivor since 1988. Thank you for sharing that with us. That's amazing. Also, this is a really great time for you guys to put in chat. If you have anything that you would like, any advice that you would like from Dr. Ervin and Dr. Ashkin, this is a really great time to put that in chat and share that with us. And they will answer it. I will share that with them. So go ahead. And I will not.
Also, no, please. And like I was about to say, guys, if somebody wants to jump in. Matter of fact, for 1 second, I'm going to call somebody else out if it's okay, because a good old friend of mine is on. Somebody who I had, again, the opportunity to work with. What I like best about him is he's a long-haired hippie like somebody else. John, are you there? You notice I can call John by one name. John, you there? Oh, well, I was hoping that I think John Walkington was there, and I just wanted to see how he was doing, and I was gonna ask him. But John, if you jump on, unmute yourself and just say hello, please, and tell us how everything. I'd like to also just mention somebody else who has been a thorn in my side, and I don't know what you call the opposite of a mentor, but maybe a pain in the butt, but has by far taught me more than I think. Definitely, without exaggeration, probably more than almost anybody else, especially in his field. Chuck, are you there? Another guy who only knows one word, only goes by one name. There's Prince, there's Cher, and there's Chuck. Chuck, you there?
I am here someplace.
What's
There
going
we
on,
go.
Chuck? I want to take this opportunity for everybody in the TB family to thank you, Chuck, and your colleagues and your whole staff for everything you've done for us. You've changed our perspective. And I want to thank you, Chuck, because many, many times you've been a lone wolf howling in the wind. And I noticed I was able to use your Colorado roots there, you know. But I want to take a second and thank you and ask you, was it worth it, kiddo?
Oh yeah, it definitely was worth it. And you know, I had the opportunity early in my TB career to work at National Jewish, and to, in particular, work with the Mother Teresa of TB, Marion Goebel, and the defensive end of tuberculosis, Mike Eisman,
And
as well.
he was a big defensive end, let me tell you, from
Mike
Nebraska.
was like a Coke machine with a head on it. And of course, Jim Cook, the guy who hired me. So it's a great team there. And Kevin Fennelly, I like to call him Kevin Felony, but
we all have those mentors who meant so much. And what I loved about the TV family, and I still love it now, is the fact that what's amazing to me is it's so approachable. I remember going out to National Jewish, Chuck. I remember meeting you, and you won't remember that at all.
we went for
all right, Chuck. There's certain things you shouldn't talk about. Okay, I
we
told
went
you.
for lunch.
Yeah, right. I don't know why we had all those singles though, but either way, Chuck, the what I remember is being able to approach you and Mike and John. I mean, it goes on and on and on, always, and always. They gave you your number. You could call. It is an amazing family, and I want to make sure that we each get a chance to thank each other, because we're nothing without each other. We're much stronger together. And there's a lot of forces that are divisive right now, and this is no time to give in. So I beg you all, Chuck, thank you for what you do. Don't give up.
And thanks to Rick.
Without a doubt. So Rick, I get to ask the first question. I want other people to ask. So Rick, if I had to ask you, what's the most surprising thing to you that's changed in TB?
That would be the ongoing social concern about tuberculosis. I had really expected, it's over 40 years ago now, when the SAN closed, there would be fewer and fewer families who grandmom or aunt and uncle was committed to the SAN and had to leave and their home, and all that fear. And yet, here it is all those years later, and the social fear of tuberculosis, personally, I have seen within the last year, because of social media, gotten even worse as far as the fear in the community and everything like that. And I guess I'm really disappointed in that. And you've already heard my disappointment going on right now, because I'm worried about what's going to happen to TB as well as the vaccines. We've had great support from so many people. Dr. Peliquin, I was glad to see you. Every time I see your name, I think of, if it ain't high in the blood, it ain't going to get to the lesion, so to speak. And so many people to thank. And so that would be my biggest surprises.
You said something that I think is really interesting. You said about, the infectiousness, and while obviously we all respect it, I think, there's a respect, but there's also a realization. And I think this is a good time also to stop and thank the NTCA, the National Tuberculosis Controls Association. I know they've changed their name, but the bottom line is, I think the recent guidelines that really, update and put to practice, infection can, when you can send people home early and why. Great work. I mean, and there's so many champions out there. Great work. I can't thank you guys enough. What I'd like to do with the last minute, if that's okay, is Rick, any closing words or anything you'd like to say?
Not really. I just appreciate all the people that I work with now. It's fantastic to see some of the folks that I worked with in the past. Betty, you're still there. Tammy McKenna, Shay Rabley, your husband, Bob Ball. And so nice to see y'all. And I just couldn't thank everybody that I've met over the last number of years in a short presentation. But it's been wonderful. It really has, as far as very engaging and a privilege to work with so many people.
Thank you very, very much. The SNTC always tries to do something new and outrageous, and usually it doesn't work. But today should be no different. So I'm begging you all, before we turn this back over to Karen, I'm begging you all, everybody, unmute your mics. If I could do it, I would do it. Unmute your mics. And at the count of 5, I'll give you all the thing. At the count of 5, I want a large scream of thank you. And that's a thank you to all of you. A thank you to our champions. That's good. I like the noise and I like the feedback. All right, I like it. Make it work. Make it raunchy. Don't worry about it. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Thank you.
Thank you.
TB Day.
Thank you, everybody. Karen, I send it back to you. Thank you very, very much, guys. Be good.
Thank you so very much, Rick Ervin and Dave Ashkin. It was a great presentation. It was great to hear all the history and hear of particularly how it was a family that works together to take care of TB. And I know we really focused on South Carolina. You all are the best, but we had so many others from other states on today too. We all know that you are daily TB elimination champions too. Props to all of you on World TB Day. Keep up the fight. We're here for you guys. Please, have a great rest of your day. And thanks so much for joining us. Rick, keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you now.
Yeah.
Have a good day.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Appreciate your-
you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.